$2,000.
£12,000.
£500.
I didn't save any.
5,000.
$10,000.
$6,000.
30,000 saved.
How much does it cost to move to Korea? How much did you save up for your move to Korea?
I want to say I saved up about $2,000 USD. Wasn't too crazy. My family actually helped me out a lot when I told them that I was moving here, because I don't think they really understood the exchange rate. But the US dollar is really strong, especially in Korea, especially after the whole martial law thing back in December. The economy kind of took a hit. So I was cruising for a little bit.
I came here in the middle of COVID, actually, so it was a different situation back then. I think for me, it was a couple of $1,000s for the air ticket, which was more expensive than the usual air ticket at the time. And then a few more thousands just for housing. I think about maybe 2,000.
Emergency funds, how much did you have?
At the time, I had quite a bit saved up, so that wasn't a concern. But I think for Korea, I put aside maybe about $5,000 just in case things went badly.
For my move to Korea, I saved around £12,000. Right now, I have £5,000 left. Yeah, I've been here, 2 weeks? But then the saving that I did was obviously for my flight tickets, and I'm going to uni for 3 months, so that's also in there, and then healthcare. And I was traveling with my mom, so it's also her flight tickets and the expenses and her being a tourist and stuff. So yeah, and that's roughly maybe $5,000 that I spent between all the the housing, the tickets for two, and extra luggage and taxis. In between, that's missing is maybe concert tickets and a new phone, a new computer, stuff like that I wanted to get new because I was coming to a new country. So, and also medical expenses prior to coming, making sure that I'm in a good health and I don't need to get medical attention here.
I want to say in dollars, maybe around $6,000, yeah.
Before coming, I will have about $10,000 with myself, but I really try to have friendly lifestyle. It's hard here. Seoul is so expensive. It's really depend of people that their lifestyle or a city they choose, because a smaller city is cheaper than a bigger city like Seoul and Busan. But if your lifestyle friendly or simple, around 800 to 1,200 pay for a month. But if you want to more comfortable in your life, it's about $1,500 to $2,000 for a month.
So that was over a decade ago. I think off the top of my head, it was about 400 or 500 pounds. And I came over with one backpack of things at the time, which not everyone does. Don't recommend it. Bring more things.
And how about now, for people that would like to move out of Korea, how much do you think they need to save up to move out to Korea?
I would have thought in this day and age, rent is still reasonable here, but not cheap. Food is also reasonable, but not cheap. I think you'd want at least in dollars, $1,000 you could probably set yourself up. A couple if you wanted to put down a deposit on a place to live alone. Maybe less if you were wanting to share with other people.
Actually, all my expenses are covered by my parents, so I didn't save any. I just came here and they are sending me money from time to time.
As someone that's been living in Korea for 3 years now, how much do you think you need to have to move to Korea?
Well, depends on what purpose you came for. If you're studying, you don't have much time for work, right? So I guess $1,000 or $2,000 per month, that will be enough to live pretty much comfortably. $10,000 will be enough for 4 to 5 months.
I've seen a couple apartments you need to save a lot, probably $25,000. Maybe, just that much. It's a lot.
$25,000, how long would that take you for in Korea?
I would think 2-3 years.
I'm so bad with numbers, but I think one time when you apply for your visa, it costs around $200 maybe. And then depending on the documents you need it translated, also sometimes an apostille from your home country and then send it here. So I think the first time I applied for university, it was around $500 just for the documents.
For someone that would like to move out of Korea, how much do you think they need to save up to move out to Korea?
So I think when you come to Korea, you should have some money at least to pay your rent. So it's good to inform yourself what kind of living conditions here are, because it really depends if you, for example, I lived at a homestay family, so it was quite cheap. But then living in Korea can be really expensive depending on the apartment, their extra apartment costs, and sometimes you have to give a deposit, which I didn't know before. So the costs can come after. So depending on the living, you should at least have like $10,000.
I did save up a lot because I know that it will be expensive, especially like I'm on a working holiday visa. So I save up around, like I would say, 1,300 euros.
For a year.
Yeah, if I find a job. But actually, I have some more savings set aside, but it's more like, saving I want to keep for later. But if I need it, I can take some. But I need to be careful.
So I'm on a D4 visa, and the requirements were that you have at least 10,000 in your bank account, so you're able to live comfortably for 6 months without working. But I saved like 5 times the amount because I know how much I like to spend, and I like to be more than comfortable. So I would recommend to anyone who's coming on the D4 visa to at least have 30,000 saved. Yeah, not just the first 6 months, but just because if you're planning to renew it and continue studying, or if you're planning to switch visas and just travel around, I think having triple or 4 times the amount is perfect.
Does knowing Korean open more opportunities for you in Korea?
Definitely. I think when you search for an apartment or a job, knowing Korean is such a big pro. So I would always recommend, if you really want to live in Korea and make a living here, I would recommend learning some Korean.
Do you speak Korean?
Yes, I have like topic 6.
한국어 공부하는 꿀팁 같은 거, 본인만의 아는 꿀팁 같은 거 있을까요?
그 가장 관심이 갖고 있는 분야를 이제 그거 한국어로 하면 가장 좋은 것 같아요. 저 같은 경우는 연극을 좋아하기 때문에 연극 뭐 대본이나 이런 거 보면서 거기에 대해서 친구들이랑 대화하고, 아니면 제가 좋아하는 책 해리포터인데 그거 이제 한국어로 읽으면서 조금 재밌게 공부할 수 있는 방법을 찾으면 가장 빨리 배울 수 있어요.
If you're going to be moving to Korea, you need to learn Korean for better opportunities in the country. And one of the best ways to do that is through Preply, today's channel sponsor. You've probably tried learning Korean in different ways which haven't been working for you, like self-study, using language apps, and also online language programs, and lots more. With Preply, which is an easy language learning platform, it connects learners with native speakers and professional instructors with over 1,200 Korean tutors to choose from. You can find a tutor that fits your schedule and learning goals, and the flexibility that Preply offers is amazing. And with the very safe payment methods, you are assured of getting your lessons confirmed by you as a student as soon as it's finished. The thing I like the most about Preply is how reliable the reviews are. And before booking a lesson with any tutor, you can check reviews about them on how well they might work for you. Even if you want to learn casual or business Korean, you can be sure of what kind of tutor to expect and their ways of teaching. And by clicking the link in the description, you can get a 50% discount on your initial lesson on Preply. So what are you waiting for? Start learning Korean today with Preply. How does living in Seoul compare to living in other cities in Korea in terms of cost?
So I've only lived in Seoul before. Even during my travels, I was mostly in Seoul. Like Busan was like 4 days, and Jeju was 4 days as well. Coming here as a tourist and living here are 2 different things, so I can't really compare. But from what I gather, Seoul is definitely the most expensive city. But I compare Seoul with where I'm from, which is Vienna, and where I've lived before, which is London, because I lived in London before I came out and lived here in Seoul. So I feel like it's kind of the same. London was the most expensive city I lived in. So I feel like Seoul is all right. It's like similar to Vienna, so it's okay.
I've only lived in Seoul, but I visited many other cities, and I would say they're quite comparable, I think, to Seoul from my experience.
Well, obviously living in Seoul would be more expensive. So I've only been here 2 weeks and I'm planning to go to Busan. I would have tried to save more if I was only planning to stay in Seoul, because obviously in terms of housing, the deposit, if you have any type of standards, the deposit will help you if you put more deposit towards the place that you're renting. Or if you want to do Airbnbs, then you need I don't know, around maybe 700, 600 per month. So I would have saved more, but now that I know that I'm going to Busan, I was a bit more relaxed in my savings. Obviously, you can find places with like 2,000 deposit or 3,000 deposit.
So I actually have not lived in any other city, just Seoul. But I've heard that Seoul is very expensive and also looking for other houses. So I actually live in Gyeonggi-do, and so I've actually seen like the rent prices there's a very big difference. So basically I've heard about the initial deposit basically. That's basically around maybe like very expensive in this area, specifically in Haebangchon. But over there I want to say maybe my rent is around 600,000 won for office sale. But here I've seen that's like basically the rent's maybe around $1 million a month, yeah.
In terms of like groceries, eating out, and all that, like how does the prices in Gyeonggi-do differs from that of Seoul?
It's much cheaper. It's so much cheaper. Usually, like I go to little markets or these little like marts, supermarkets. Basically, I found that some prices like for fresh goods are much cheaper, or like, I guess closer to like farms or like farmers and stuff. It's been much cheaper for groceries such as like greens, vegetables, everything like that. The only thing is fruit is very expensive here, so that's heartbreaker.
So I think living in Seoul, especially with using USD, it stretches a lot, and I was able to purchase a lot of necessities that I needed. I was able to get some new clothes because the weather here is really harsh. It's a little bit different. I would say Seoul is really not that expensive if you know how to like stretch your money. You could ball on a budget here, honestly. I think where I live is slightly cheaper, but compared to my economy back home, I think I have an easier time getting around.
I have lived in Yeosu, Incheon, Busan, and Seoul. Seoul is definitely on average more expensive just because there are a lot more things you're going to want to do. There's a lot more bars, a lot more restaurants, cocktail places, social events. You definitely want more here. You could live on a decent amount, but it's easy to spend like 150,000 on a night out if you're drinking cocktails and you're with fancy people. So yeah, it's more expensive here, but only because there's just more to do.
Well, like you think like, when it comes to, like housing, all that stuff, like it's still the same as Yeosu, Incheon, all that.
A little more expensive. I know the rent here is cheaper than the UK. It's gone up over the last few years, bit of an international problem there. But if you're in a shared apartment, I reckon you'd be paying 400,000, 500,000.
Other cities are so much cheaper. So I went to visit a friend in Daejeon, and it was such a nice house. And they said this is only because we're not living in Seoul. So Korea is so much focused on Seoul, and more the center you get, depending on the area, like Gangnam or Shinsa, like these areas can be really expensive, but then going to other areas, there are also cheaper options.
What are some hidden costs of moving to Korea that people often forget about, like taxes or insurance?
That's a really great question, because actually now I think more and more people know about this one. But deposit, guys, deposit, rent, deposit, oh my God, be prepared because it's really, really high. For example, mine was around 6,000 euros. I'm living with my friend, so we could once again do half-half, but still it's really high. It's still really high. So just be prepared. That's why I was saying that have some saving because you're going to need it. And also, I think it's one of the most unexpected one for me. It was eating healthy here. I feel like eating healthy in Korea is not that cheap and not that simple. Our fruits and vegetables here are really high. You can always find option if you would like to local markets, but still, if you're like going to grocery shopping, it's really high. Basic Korean food is good, but for me, I've been living in France. It's not my usual food, it's very salty, sometimes like very, sugar. Also, they put sugar everywhere. Like, why? So I would say eating healthy if you want to. It's not that expensive, but it's still a bit higher than the normal.
I would say more like gas and water prices because it's different from the States, I would think, because you can either connect to your own gas or city gas. That's a hidden cost you should ask for. When you want to own an apartment here, you should ask that first. If you get your own gas or you're a part of city gas. It got us for a while. It really hit us with a big toll.
Definitely insurance, because you are not thinking about you have to pay monthly like $70 for insurance being in here. So, and it might kind of be a problem for a lot of people because you do not expect to spend it money on it, right? So, or probably nightlife in Seoul. Like you can spend a lot of money on bars and food when you're like just hanging out and stuff. So I think you should think about it first.
Yeah, I think I find there aren't too many actually. Like out of our salary, we have health insurance and pension and things like that deducted. But I think the quality of care you get in Korea for the health insurance is pretty good for the cost of it. Besides that, not too many other expenses. One thing could be if you choose to get your own housing, the housing deposit can be quite large compared to other countries to secure an apartment.
Usually, like how much in like are the housing deposits?
Mine is quite small, and my boss pays for it, thankfully. But often I've got friends who are paying, in Korean money, 5 million, 10 million, even higher sometimes, which if you come here without much funds, that's not really possible for some people. So yeah, it can be a challenge, definitely.
Definitely taxes. That's a huge thing because the more money you earn, the more they tax you, which I find interesting. The flight for sure, that was a big one. I got reimbursed for mine, but that's not going to be the case for everyone. But I think it's worth it. As far as any other costs, I know rent is like jeonse here, which is basically you have to pay like a key money deposit, so you have to save up for that. I would say average jeonse where I live is like at least a few $1,000s. I want to say about $5,000 to $10,000. But then the rent is super cheap, so it helps a little bit.
Okay, taxes, not such a big issue. They're pretty small here. If you don't have national health insurance, again, I think a couple of million won, so Lord knows what that is in dollars now. A couple of million won to be very, very safe. If you're young and healthy, much less than that. I'm in my 40s, so I have to worry about MRIs and scans. But I think, yeah, less than $1 million for safety, because even without insurance, medicine is not super expensive in this country.
Definitely healthcare. In my case, the first 6 months, the school takes over your healthcare, but you still have to pay for it and then bring the receipt to the school and then they pay you back. Not even the school directly, actually, they gave you an app. It's a whole thing. But definitely, this is one of the costs where I was like, okay, I have to put money aside for that. Put money aside for like spontaneous travels, especially in between levels, or if sometimes you feel like, oh, I want to like go away for a weekend, like around Chuseok or around Christmas. Have a little pot saved for like spontaneous travels, and have a little pot saved for ordering food. That's what I do, because sometimes I'm just lazy and I want to have my pizza, I want to have my pasta. So have a little pot saved for like ordering food when you're at home.
Definitely, if you want to apply for your visa, you have to provide so many documents, often the translation, then other application fees. So for me, it was always a shock because you have to renew your visa basically like every year. In good times, I had to renew it one time after 2 months. So there are so many costs of going there all the time. I would say visa application are hidden costs, and then healthcare. If you're working as a freelancer here in Korea, you have to take care of your own health insurance, which is every foreigner has to apply for the health insurance. So this is a big cost. And for taxes, of course, if you're also are still registered in your home country, you have to pay for the both countries.
What is something you like the most about Korea other than the convenience?
The people. The people are super nice. People are really friendly. They really get to know me, especially knowing that I'm from Puerto Rico and my family's are Puerto Rico, and they really want to know a lot about that stuff. They want to really get out there, and it's really fun. And especially some of my friends, because my friends are from the States, and they really want to know how the States are like, because most of them move there, like California, New York, and they really want to know how it is there. And the people are just so nice. I had classmates in college that are from Korea, and they're super nice. The people are great.
Is it enough to live off your savings in Korea, or do you need another job?
So I start off with my savings, of course, but now that I have a clearer vision of what I'm spending every month, I definitely need a job. I have one, it's like a part-time job, but it doesn't pay really well because once again, I feel like as a foreigner, what I am saying can be a mistake, but I feel like as a foreigner, it's definitely harder to find a job in Korea, even more if you don't talk Korean, that's obvious. But still, it's really hard, and also the working condition can be really, really hard. And it usually doesn't pay well. So for now, I'm happy because I'm able to pay my rent, some of my groceries and stuff, but still not enough to live comfortably.
So how is the working culture in Korea compared to back home in France?
It's so different. Like, for example, at my agency, I'm more like a part-timer. So, but I see my colleague and they tell me about the job, and they definitely like don't count the hours of work. Usually, they don't have enough time to eat lunch, for example. And I just feel like every time I see them, they look so tired. And I feel like you really need to put your life in your job. And for example, in front I was a food photographer and stylist. Yeah, very good job. Yeah, I miss it. And we had so much freedom. It's not everywhere like this in France, obviously, but you know, my agency was like a very young company. We were like just 10, and we had so much freedom. Like we had almost 2 hours to eat our lunch. We could leave earlier if we finished the job. It was really great. It's definitely not like this everywhere, but like this is why getting a full-time work in Korea, I'm not sure.
Well, thank you for watching this video. If you'd love to see more like this in the future, I'd love for you to subscribe and also turn on the notification for when new videos come out. And also, if you're planning a trip to Korea, I have my guidebook linked in the description, which covers everything from food, entertainment, all that stuff to help you navigate your travel to Seoul in 2025. See you in the next video.